Hello friends, my name is Pinaki and welcome to my channel FinTech Logics. Today's topic of discussion is open finance. Now you must be wondering why we are talking about open finance in between the process flows of lending or banking. Now when I was covering your process flows for lending, uh, I often talk about digital finance or digital banking or digital process flows, right? So it becomes inevitable to know the basic behind that, uh, the logic behind that. There has been a lot of enhancement in these areas, and this is facilitating the modern day digitization, especially in banking space. That is what I thought I'll probably talk about the concept first, so that you would be able to appreciate the developments those are happening in modern terms. So let's begin. Now, open finance or open banking that you hear about a lot in these modern days, these are basically modern day enhancements or innovations those are happening in the banking landscape that is causing a lot of banking disruption. So the key takeaways from today's discussion would be the concept: what is open finance? Now the examples where all we use this open finance, and third thing would be the benefits that the customers especially are getting. Well, uh, now when we talk about open finance, the background of that is financial services are being offered by banks. Now, if you want to share, a customer wants to share their financial information or probably want to do some payments. In traditional times, they were logging on to bank instead in case of your online banking, or through check payments they were doing it. But eventually, bank was getting involved. Now, in the modern era of innovation, uh, when the customer takes a service or a product from uh, third party themselves can initiate or do a lot of processing, which are actually being done by banks earlier, right? So, in the modern age, to make it simplified, uh, we have to understand it like this: that open finance is a development that helps processing information between a bank and a third party with the help of some APIs or application programming interface, not through screen scraping and all, through APIs, and with customer consent. So definitely, customer consent is a must for providing all this information. Now, to simplify open finance, we have to look at these five variations that we get in terms of open finance functionalities. Now, what are these? The first one is request for information. So, wherein a third party will ask for some banking information, and the bank can provide the same information with customer consent. In the same way, third party can ask for a payment, and the bank can process that payment through customer consent. And finally, the ability to store information regarding customers' financial details. So, in short, this is all about open finance that is helping in our digitization, day to day digitization that we're achieving in different spaces. Now, let's look at some of the examples. Now, we have heard about UPIs or Unified Payment Interfaces, where the customer uses one application and trying to buy something, where you would input the UPI details, and then the third party will send that information or send that permission to process that payment to bank. You log into your banking website and just need to approve it, or some cases it you don't even need to log into customer uh, bank site. It can be facilitated through the app itself, the third party app itself, unified payment interfaces. Now, One more application is, let's say, account aggregator. So wherein uh, if a third party or a lending company would like to get some information about the customer, they can get the information from bank, but instead of that, they can also take help of some account aggregators who have rights using the information ability. They can store the information of the customer, and that can be provided with customer consent. So there are a lot of account aggregators. So some examples are like your Geo Money or Yodlee that you hear, or even Perfius in India. So these are quite active account aggregators these days, are called as AA. Now, the third one is open bank APIs for third party consumption. So, for example, a customer has availed service with Uber, and through Uber, they are asking for payments, right, from the customer's bank. So, that is about open banking APIs integration with Uber that is helping in those. Now, digital customer onboarding. So now in a normal customer onboarding process in early days, a customer had to submit a lot of documents. It might be from their identity information to their banking information from the banks, right? So all that being facilitated by uh, different API interfaces being made from your third parties to different authorities that facilitate the customer information flow, and customer can be onboarded seamlessly. Now, digital bank account verification. Now, this is the step that you would hear in every lending uh, process, wherein at the last step before disbursement, the bank account of the customer or the borrower is verified. So at that point of time, normally customer does not need to submit any physical copy of either a cancelled check or bank statement. It can be directly fetched utilizing this particular open finance functionality. Similarly, a lot of payment initiations and processing by merchants is also done. Even your insurance verification. So this is actually taking it a level further to open finance from open banking. So wherein your data providers are not limited only to banking, it has also been extended to utilities and your insurance providers as well, so that they also provide information by customer consent. That is what we are moving from an era of open banking to open financing, extending the functionality from banking to other services as well. So that's what the definition is about open financing. Now, it's also important to know in what geographic areas it is in what stage. So if you look at India, so it's primarily market driven. So your different players have actually come up with the framework, and they got a lot of support by central banks and government when UPIs and all are made to rule, right? So, but primarily it is market driven. Now, if you look at Europe, it's much more regulatory driven, central bank driven, and they have a proper framework of open banking framework, which has concepts like your account information service provider, commonly called as AISP, or payment initiation service providers, PISP. But majorly it is your central bank driven or government driven. In US, it is completely market driven, so it is kept with the discretion of the different merchants or different players to innovate and then integrate with different banking banks to facilitate the open banking. In UAE, it is pretty much similar to Indian market, so it's a mix of both market, and central bank is also regulating in form of some innovations and rules that they bring. In Australia, it is again a mix. So they have a framework called as your CDR that is facilitated by your government or central bank, and there are also market driven players uh, who are actually innovating in this space. Now, once as we have looked at what is open banking or open finance, and some examples with the developments. Let's look at what is in it for a customer, or the central position um, borne by a customer, how they are being benefited by this. Now, the benefits can be listed in these six categories. So let's look at financial innovation, right? So as we know that open banking brings APIs into picture. So it's a API framework that works in the background uh, in uh, in transferring data from one place to other, authorization from one place to other. So there has been a lot of API banking innovation that is happening, and that is why customers need to go to these banks, or getting all these data from one place to other has actually reduced. This is helping them in their day-to-day work. Now this is also helping customers in getting embedded finance. So the best example probably would be the Uber example, where a customer tries to make a payment and he doesn't need to go through the cumbersome process of inquiring for what is the driver's phone account number, bank account number, adding it in their bank account, transferring. It can be directly done through the Uber app only, integrated with the customer. So definitely, embedded finance is something that is bringing a lot of value to customers, which is being backed by open finance. The third one in this category is lower TAT. So now you hear about 5 minutes disbursement or 10 minutes disbursements, loans, personal loans. So that is being backed by a complete digitization process, wherein a lot of integration happens utilizing this open finance from different parties or different ecosystems, right? So that is helping customers in bringing the turnaround time low to avail the financial services much faster. Now, let's look about the biggest portion, biggest benefit, which is customer control. Now, in this process, as customers' consent is the main item to be taken into account. So, customers get a self control for what data to be shared, what data not to be shared. Customers get a full control of the data sharing. Customers understand the risk, that what kind of data they are sharing and what risk they are exposed to. The initial timings when customer was taking a loan, at that point of time, if your third party verification agencies were collecting some piece of information from customers bank, customers may not be able to know what information is being shared. But because of this open banking, digitization, and data sharing, customers understand what data is being shared, understands what is the risk. A peace of mind, definitely, because you customer is the owner here of sharing what kind of data, and accepting or rejecting data transfer, your payments, everything. Overally, the customer becomes a lot more data literate because he knows about each and every item that is being shared. That is all about customer control. Now, multiplayer interoperability. So now, one thing tactically we have to understand that uh, in the previous ages, for any banking product innovation, only the banks were doing the effort portion. So the customers, the banks, based on their prioritization, were spending efforts in innovating or digitizing. But now, because of this open finance, there is a effort and cost sharing among different players. So now, if your Uber wants to integrate with your bank, so not only your bank of the customer innovates, but also the effort is being shared by Uber, right? So combinedly, the effort and cost sharing makes it much more faster innovation, right? uh, Multifaceted development, because the players are, or the third party players, offering different kinds of product and services, who are not only in banking segment, right? So there might be insurance players, that might be fleet players, there might be other players as well. So based on different need, there has been a multifaceted development, uh, which is being happening at this point of time. That is good for open banking or financial digitization. Now, because of this complex structure of open finance, definitely regulators and central banks get information about what are the developments, up to even what kind of details of the customer are being shared. So there is definite visibility of regulators and central banks in all the data sharing, the storage, and even the use. So this is also a benefit directly to customer, that your customer's data is protected. Uh, Next point is about data portability. So, wherein initially the banks were maintaining their own databases of the customer, but because of the need to share data across multiple players, that has to have some structure. So that is why the customer's data structure has improved. Better structure of customer data is being maintained now. There has been periodic checks, definitely, because we have to um, send this data or transfer this data between multiple parties. Better data updates based on your customers' transactions and all, and better access to data. So all these have actually helped in data portability, which has actually made the data quality much better. Now, the next point is about tech decentralization. So, because of the need to maintain security, privacy, and transparency, there has been a lot of new technologies which are being integrated. So, for example, your blockchain is an eligible player here in bringing a lot of innovation in tech. So that brings security, privacy, and transparency to the data. So definitely, decentralization of tech is helping in all-round tech development and giving the overall strength to the ecosystem. Finally, and the most important portion is financial inclusion. Now, because different players have come to market, the market has opened, the banking has opened, the financial services costs are actually coming down. So, initial days when there used to be a loan processing charge, which was quite heavy amount. Now, if you see the loans, it has come down to a very drastic level thanks to all the innovation those are being happening by banking and non-banking players. So that brings in term the cost of financial services low. So in term your customers of different socio-economic classes can afford different kinds of product and service. In term, this is also increasing the coverage because third parties are all around. So it's not that they're only covering rural area, urban areas. They're also covering a lot of areas where there are a lot of unbanked customers as well. So because of the coverage has increased and the rural segment is also included here, there is happening a lot of financial inclusion in this aspect also. A lot many people are able to afford the modern day banking products as well. So in term, these six faceted benefits are overwhelming for the customers and they're able to get a lot of benefits out of this. Now, this is all about open finance and how it is helping in modern day innovation. I hope this video would have made some portion clear about open banking and digitization, and you would be able to correlate better in our future discussions of digital lending. Thanks a lot for watching my video, viewers. Please do like, share, and subscribe. If you have any additional clarifications, please comment, and I would be happy to create a separate. Thanks a lot.